Hi! Welcome back to Of the Devil. Last time, the investigation heated up with Sarah basically strong-arming Morgan into continuing her investigation. And she's come to the conclusion that the good doctor did not kill himself. And now we are at the morgue, going to examine the body to figure out exactly what happened to him. Some kind of poison, absolutely. But finding the origin of this poison might be a bit difficult. Okay then, let's get started. Alright, I'll just step out for a moment to give you guys some privacy. Yes, please. Thank you. The last time we talked was on a Sunday. You were complaining. I remember that. It's the principle of the matter. Oh wait, no. Oh, this is her narration, right? The last time we talked was on a Sunday. You were complaining. I remember that. It's the principle of the matter. Alright, you had ordered this cheap piece of shit sculpture or something by mistake. And it came damaged and you wanted to send it back for a refund. I gently reminded you how with your salary it was literally not worth your time. And I kindly offered to throw it out for you since you're having so much trouble letting go. You're only offering because you want to see how loud it sounds shattering at the bottom of my trash can. I denied it even though you were right and it was obvious. I should have let you have that one. I thought that he would look different. But he looks exactly the same as I remember. His skin is pale and he's very still. But his face is the same. His hair, his hands. You were expecting something more drastic. The last time I saw him, he was alive. He smiled and told me he would see me soon. Now he's dead. Something's gone. And I can't find the difference. I'm trying to look harder, but I think I might just not be capable of it. And I wonder why. Why I was created to not be capable. Could be an issue of skill. Or maybe it's not something that can be seen. No matter how hard you look. But it's there, I guarantee it. I've seen the transition enough times to be sure that between life and death, the distinction has significance. To the dead, at the very least. You're going to smoke? Here. Now. Oh, hold on a second, you guys. I'll pay the fine. Hey, Nagatuna, welcome to the stream. Sorry, had to briefly go back. Parenting stuff. Everything's good now, though. Alright. That's not the issue. Were you expecting me to fall to pieces? Real boys grieve in all kinds of ways, Pinocchio. And some don't grieve at all, it seems. I'm a cold woman. Sorry to disappoint. The hell? What the hell will this thing light? Adonai. You have your cigarette backwards. Damn. Jeez Louise. Alright, that's back into cold storage for him. So... Need anything else? Can you send me the chemical makeup of that compound you isolated? Sure, for what it's worth. Let me just... It's got carbon, nitrogen, oxygen, hydrogen with hexagonal structures. So it's organic, but there's a number of metallic elements too. And if you were to speculate on its intended use, based on what we know of its structure, well, it certainly acted like a depressant, binding to receptor pathways and affecting the balance of neurotransmitter reuptake. Depressants are pretty rare in the designer drug scene. True. People are always looking for a higher high or a crazier trip. But a more powerful depressant will just make you fall asleep. Not much need to hit up the gray marker for that kind of experience. No, there's not. I see. Thanks again. You've been extremely helpful during a very difficult time. Hey, anything you need, give me a ring. That's very generous. Rockford's orders cut me on call, so I'm already getting overtime for the whole weekend. Glad to hear it. Goodbye, Yumi. And goodbye to you too, Greenie. My name is Sarah. Nice to meet you, Sarah. July 1st. Up on ramps and down off ramps. Above skywalks and under tram lines. The buildings get progressively more polished as we head into the most economically developed part of the city. Corporate territory. National headquarters for the likes of Howe Industries, Lock Kuhn, Tethys, each of them sheltering their own micro-city of employee accommodations beneath their skyscrapers' shadows. Whalefall. The entirety of the ocean floor coming together to feast and grow and live. Live off the fetid, rotting fat of the leviathans that swallow generations of people by the mouthful. Weight is commonly listed, and my weight is... Do I really have to disclose that? Noble lays claim to one of the largest shadows in the city. A towering nerve center for the whole nation's android industry. It's meant to be intimidating, I'm sure, but today I'm glad that Noble keeps such a sizable physical presence here. I need answers about David, and his work on Sarah. Answers I'd never get browsing the company website or speaking to a representative. Synopsis. Relationships. There are typically trivia sections as well. Should I start there? Noble will have their guard up, of course, but even that will tell me something. Where they let me walk, who they let me talk to. History. Their efforts at performative transparency and clumsy obfuscation will... How did you know my father? What? I'm sorry. Did I interrupt your brooding? No. What did you ask? My father. I know you were his friend. But what was your relationship like? Can't you just scroll through our socials? Father avoided social media. And your online presence is not significant. You're saying I don't have enough followers? Essentially. We went to the same college. You studied programming? No. I studied all kinds of different things as an undergrad, but not technology. Is that a good way to prepare for law school? I wasn't preparing for law school. Or anything else, really. David, though, he had talent and he knew we wanted to do something with it. He studied programming, robotics, discrete math, cybernetics. What classes did you share then? Business as ethics. Hilarious. I was the second best student in the class and he was the first. He was the one who asked the most questions. Not sure about his actual ranking. He found the course challenging, and I clearly didn't, despite being younger. Guess he felt burned. He'd come up to me after class to argue, and sometimes to ask for help. Father always talked about socializing like it was a chore. It was kind of you to give him a chance. What, like I was some kind of social butterfly? The belle of the ball? You weren't. One Sunday night, he'd knocked on my door all panicked, saying he was in bad shape for this tech course. There was a midterm or something the next day. I couldn't make heads or tails of the material, but I did my best to at least quiz him. He wasn't satisfied, though. Wanted to cram the rest of the night. Father had to cram for an undergraduate midterm? Did I say something scandalous? He's been called the founder of modern programming. Yes, well, even founder types can have poor time management when they're 21. He was already fried by that point. Wasn't hard to tell what he was really asking for. So I went ahead and stole a study aid for him. Damn. They were really close. So it feels like they were together at one point at least and stayed friends. Like they must have broken up for like business reasons, but stayed in contact at least. You stole a controlled substance just to help him with studying. No, that'd be insane. No, I just pocketed some breath mints from the common room. Told her to pinch his nose and swallow fast, 'cause the taste is so strong. You gave him a placebo? He already knew the content as good as he ever would. What he needed was to sleep. He could barely keep his eyes open by the time I got back from my daring heist. Didn't take much convincing for him to rest his eyes just until it kicked in. And the test? B plus, I think. I'm surprised that Father stayed close with you after that. You stole and lied to him. I stole and lied for him, excuse me. And David understood that. He was good at understanding things without me having to spell them out. But I guess that's not the kind of thing that gets passed down through programming. Anyway, we kept in touch after that. First year of grad school, he published this paper. The Turing Solution. A framework for programming adaptive linguistic heuristics. One of his advisors came up with that title. David thought it was way too cocky, but it still hasn't failed any known Turing test in the years since. Don't act like you're the one who deserves credit for it. He called me one weekend asking for advice on how to handle all the attention. Job offers, interviews, apprenticeships, invitations to immigrate. What did you tell him? I don't remember telling him anything, actually. A lot of our conversations went like that. He would talk to me about whatever personal, professional problem was stuck in his head that day, and I would nod while he wore himself out. And at the end of the conversation, he'd thank me, even though I hadn't offered a single word of advice. He took Noble's offer, and they took over his education. Paid him to work on his master's during the day and attend corporate training at night. And whatever else Noble may be, they were smart enough to start listening to him early. You are referring to his one-point doctrine. Quality over quantity. Simple and elegant, just like his code. Simple and elegant, but anathema to a global corporation with supply chains designed for maximum capacity and just-in-time manufacturing. But obviously they got over their distaste fast enough. In the span of a few years, Noble's gone from making manual labor ads for meager profit to being the world leader in intelligence as a service. Even as he was making money hand over fist, he still kept in contact with a nobody like me. I moved to the city for my apprenticeship. He helped me pay a down payment on my apartment. Then made up excuses as to why he couldn't help me move boxes. So is that enough detail for you? Thoroughly convinced that he and I were, in fact, friends. I am. But Adonai, the favor you owe him, what was it for? That's private. Understand? I have zero interest in talking about it with you. Did she kill someone for it? Say you understand. I understand, Adonai. We will be arriving shortly. Shall I send word ahead? Just tell him that David's lawyer is here. Ooh. Mysteriousness is. I've been here before. Sat right here in this lobby waiting for David to come and treat me to lunch. At least I think it was this lobby. Could have been some other floor. Could have been an entirely different building. All these corporate towers of Babel feel like interchangeable fractals to me. Folding in on themselves latent patterns of narcissistic paranoia. So monumental in the scale of their hubris, they needed to use non-Euclidean geometry when drawing up the blueprints. Jesus Louise, it's crazy. What the fraps? The greatest minds of each generation coming together. Just to find the most expensive way to shove their heads up their asses. Adonai, is something bothering you? Just doing the math on how long we'll be kept waiting here. Apparently someone will be here shortly. So maybe if I pass the time by glaring around the place, it'll improve my mood. They changed the logo again. Noble Electronics. How's it feel stepping in here? Is this some kind of religious experience for you? It's just the corporation where my father worked. Careful now, or they'll burn you for heresy against the company. You said it again. The company. As if it's a proper noun. You're mimicking the employees, aren't you? So it can't obey simple orders, but it can pick up on that. Is it just a part of the corporate culture? Noble's one of the biggest corporations there is. One of the biggest there's ever been. We mere humans can't hope to escape the gravity of anything that size, no matter where you live or how far off the grid you think you are. So imagine what it's like working for them. You live in company dorms, work in company quarters. Wherever you go, that logo's above your head. You eat, sleep, and breathe on Noble's timetable, at its discretion. When you spend your whole life inside of it, Noble must feel big enough to be the only company there is. To think this is only one room. This complex is so massive that it doesn't even feel man-made. It's like it was carved out of the rock by waves. Like it's always been here. That's the con. If this place was actually natural, there'd be birds everywhere. I hadn't considered that. Why aren't there birds in here? Probably because of what they do to the ones that get in. I'm kidding. Though I don't have a better explanation. So much energy. So many people. All so intent. You kidding? It's Saturday. This place is half empty. But doesn't everyone work on Saturdays? All the parents do, so they don't need to find childcare on Sunday. Everyone else flips a coin, I guess. Damn. All these people, for 12 hours a day, 6 days a week. What could they all possibly be doing? Making work for themselves. You can be very cynical, can't you? Yeah, I'm terrible. But that guy over there just been jiggling his cursor for the last 20 seconds. Whoever comes to greet us better have a pulse and some goddamn authority. My mood's starting sour, and if they just send me the first link in their infinite chain of corporate bureaucracy, I'll make them wish. Morgan. Oh.
Morgan.
That's me.
Hey there. Android Manufacturing Quality Control, Eastern Division. Even Dawes.
Evan. Evan, probably. Evan Dawes, he says. Like it's an afterthought. What's it a name compared to your place in the hierarchy?
You seem familiar. Have you?
I'm David's lawyer.
Oh, then we must have.
Apologies. Let me first just say how sorry I am about his passing. You and everyone else at the company must be going through a lot right now. As if it's a proper noun. Thank you for taking the time to meet with me.
You're welcome, but it's no big deal. Everyone's on the razor today, but what else is new, eh? And compared to PR or legal right now, our workloads in QA are... Never mind. How can I assist you?
Shortly before his passing, Dr. Asher began the process of registering this android. Yes, that is Unfortunately, he wasn't able to finish the job.
Look at that. It's definitely custom.
Gee, you think? Good thing I sought out an expert.
Warm, goes without saying. Reminds me of the A16 Premiere, if anything. Barcode is clearly printed, no visible defects. But you're right, it doesn't correspond to anything we've got on file. Well, they sent you the right man for the job. Now we just need to go to the right place.
Not far, I hope.
It's in the building.
In the building. That could mean anything from down the hall to a half-day's hike.
The production line on B9 should have everything we need.
You do manufacturing inside your corporate headquarters?
B9's a fully functional production floor, but it was only built for demonstrative purposes. And new clients make deals upstairs about how many and what shape and size, then they'll come down to the basement to see how the sausage is made.
They have enough money to build a fake factory just for guests. Smart. So long as you're only giving tours and not giving away company secrets.
No need to worry about that. We take intellectual security very seriously around here.
No kidding. There are 11 cameras on us at the moment that I can see. And who knows how many pairs of modded eyes are aimed our way. Clearly nothing happens here without the almighty company knowing about it. So if they try to claim ignorance about anything, it's gonna piss me off. Lead the way. Nova Electronics Northeastern HQ. Basement floor 9. It really is fully furnished down here. I don't want to take up too much of your time. But it's pretty rare to get to see all of this in person, you know. Would you mind terribly if I looked around for a moment?
No problem. I've got some prelim paperwork I need to handle anyway, so, how about it?
I better take full advantage. I'll need more than cursory knowledge if I want to figure out where Sarah came from, and why David wanted me to take custody. I'm going to look around. You stay put in the meantime. Ajnai, wouldn't want to lose you among the rest of the merchandise. What's being built out there?
Our top of the line brand new bestsellers, the Animate 16, warm.
Looks kind of cold out there.
We keep the factory floor refrigerated. So the organics already tuned metabolic activity to a minimum.
Well, that explains why the room doesn't smell like rotting flesh. The flesh out there is only somewhat rotting. Slowly. I just meant I'm surprised to see metal.
Ah, well, all the A16s have alloy endoskeletons. The organics are layered on later in the process.
It sounds like what Sarah told me about herself. Maybe she really was the A16 prototype. But it's hard to imagine bridging the gap between her and these scattered doll parts. I get that you can just grow about anything from Lax Gemini. But how do you get the synthetic and organic to work together?
Yeah, that was our first concern when R&D began work on the warm concept. The 1.0s were real skin with synthetic muscle. And it was a horror show. Metal pulling on skin was just,
Right.
For 2.0, they work backwards. Organic muscles, organic skin. But digital signals on organic hardware was a dead end.
Didn't the muscles flex when you passed an electric current through them?
They'd flex and unflex, sure, but that's not nearly precise enough for facial expressions. Look like puppets strung up on live wires. We use the test footage to haze interns, actually.
You must have figured something out. The A16 wouldn't look out of place on the runway.
Thank you. We try. We ended up reaching out to mod companies. Well, we actually just bought out half a dozen of them, but
Right.
I figured out how to get human nervous system to move in mechanical limbs decades ago. So we just need to get a mechanical nervous system to move living limbs.
Very clumsy attempt to avoid using the word human.
High precision mods are slotted straight into the nervous system. They receive their input from neurotransmitters, not bioelectricity.
So you had to do the opposite.
Exactly. We created a synthetic neurotransmitter that our androids could use to communicate with organic flesh.
Where did that breakthrough come from? Dr. Asher?
Partly. He led the team that built the motor neurons in this analogy. They carry commands from central nervous OS to individual muscles across the chassis. But the the synthetic analog serotonin. That was actually an old brainchild from the VP of Android Futures, Helen Young.
Young. Hasn't David mentioned a Dr. Young before? Sounds impressive.
She's one hell of a biochemist. Or she was, I guess. Not much time for individual lab work when you got her kind of pay grade.
so Young collaborated with David on the technology that enabled warm androids. As I thought. Whatever went into Sarah that makes the android so distinct? He couldn't have taken sole credit for it. Young. Did he partner with her on this? This seems to share components with that coffin Sarah was napping in. If DOS does quality assurance, is it some kind of android calibration device? It's probably what he'll use to register Sarah. Looks a little... Is Sarah tall enough for her to recognize her? There's something out there that caught my eye when we came in. A very familiar shade of crimson. If I squint through the glass out on the floor, there are temperature-controlled fluid tanks. Through glass and plastic flows an eye-catching scarlet that transitions into... See you at the blood towards the end.
You mean the oxidant? Yeah, relatively late in the process. Something out of place?
Androids have blood, even if it's not officially labeled as such. But it isn't red, it's pink. Nice reference. Sometimes milky, sometimes neon, occasionally garish. But pink. I just didn't think the oxidant would be red.
Oh, right, sorry. I'd barely notice it at this point. Color's natural, comes from the biomanufacturing process. The chromofuge out there removes the byproducts, the waste, the excess pigment.
Changing it from blood red to psychopop pink.
Without that chromofuge, our android's flesh would come out looking all the wrong colors.
That may be true. It probably isn't, but it may be. But I have a simpler explanation. Blood is primal. The sight of it carries weight. They change the color of their product's blood so that when an android gets a bottle broken against its face, no one bats an eye. Feels like I've seen this before. That's right, there was one in David's lab.
That's a nano-grade elementary manufacturer. Nanofacturer for short. A high-quality piece of machinery. Each of them built in-house by Randock Mechanics.
What does it do?
Nano-level flash fab. Basically a 3D printer for nanomachines.
You build nanomachines in your factories for use in your androids.
Raw materials are cheap, literally elementary. No sense in getting them shipped in. It's mostly the medical models that make use of them. Inject a couple thousand nanites into a patient's bloodstream, run diagnostics, and provide a solution.
A 3D printer for nanomachines. So what kind of ink does it use?
Silicon, hydrogen, oxygen, carbon. Building blocks. They feed into the nano printer and it assembles the machines particle by particle.
Like a ribosome building structurally complex proteins out of chemically simple amino acids. Hey, genetics! I understood the reference. Always lovely to see some science stuff. Must be time consuming.
You would think. But Randock cracked the code on parallel microfacturing. The inside's crystalline, sprawling, like an ant's nest. Raw materials enter one point of the thousands of different entry points, combining and recombining at intersections. Finished product ends up at the center and drips onto liquid solution. Distilled nectar, sown with millions of nanites in just 2 minutes.
Nectar? It's sticky?
It can be, depending on the desired output. But the door vacuum seals while it's cooking, so don't worry. It's completely spill-proof.
What a relief. Not exactly a box of paper clips David could just have brought home from the office one day. He must have bought his own for some reason. An inhaler left out on the desk. Probably a half dozen empty ones in one of the drawers. Alright, let's take flash fabrication, a method of manufacturing artificial microscopic compounds that utilizes parallel nesting to assemble billions of simple structures in minutes or even seconds. Nanomachines have been around for the better part of a century, but the time and resources required for their construction through traditional means was historically prohibitively expensive, limiting exploration of an investment in nanotech. In the years since flash fabrication's introduction, use of and demand for nanomachines has exploded. And scientists, doctors, and product designers have found brand new niches for them across every industry. Concerned about the ecological impact of the surge in nanomachine construction have been raised, though the official stance of the Nanolife Industrial Clubbing Group has remained unwavering. Nothing that small can possibly leave that big of an ecological footprint. Huh. Dye's profile likes Hammocks Calligraphy Pale Ale. Dislikes first date's conference calls, 5 o'clock shadow. Proud of his practice handshake, struggle with solving captchas. Huh. Interesting. Talk screen, let's see. Alcohol was the only item identified at the time. Similar to a depressant, it's a poison. So much evidence already, my god. 20 milligrams of unknown substance. Loud curling handwriting at the bottom. What the hell is toxicity? Send attending physicians back to med school. Send apologies to attending physicians. These readings are a nightmare. Dawes? The inhalers. They're distributed by the company, correct?
Oh, yeah. HR handles it. They personalize your dosage and prescription, and update it based on performance and job fulfillment reviews.
Other corporations do it the same way.
Yeah, pretty much. Everyone's trying to keep pace with each other, so can't have your employees losing focus on the job. Could cost you who knows how much in lost efficiency.
Sorry if this is insensitive, but given what happened to David, are overdoses common in the company?
Yeah.
Yeah, he says.
Overdoses, that is, not hospitalizations or deaths. It's all pretty organized these days.
These days?
Man, back when I started in consulting, pretty much everyone has an embarrassing story from their first 2 years when they popped a few too many greens and missed the on-ramp.
Popped greens?
Yeah, used to be pills. Green to get you going, yellow to keep you there. Solid red after brushing your teeth and getting to your bunk fast. But yeah, inhalers are a huge improvement. Like going from torches to the light bulb. I sync straight to your personal biomes and adjust doses in real time. Overdoses are way down.
That's great to hear.
Trainees under me don't realize how good they got it. Kids probably won't even have to learn how to purge.
Yeah, I know, right? What have we got on this data pad? Some kind of write-up on subject of Sullivan's Peak. Much of our world today, and in fact much of our world's economy is heavily influenced by the Uncanny Valley. The thought experiment provides a simple and easily applied explanation for the gaps we see in otherwise wide spectrum of automated dependence that assist us in nearly every industry on the planet. There's a very simple primal truth to it. We like things that resemble the living, like cartoons and puppets and toys, and we like things that are damn near indistinguishable from the living, like whatever name Noble's latest products are being sold under. But there are deep, deep trenches between those two ends, where products are universally appalling to human sensibility. Yep, I know this is. I just like reading it. The Uncanny Valley will no doubt remain a useful tool for teaching, marketing, and design for generations to come, but already we are seeing ways in which it fails. It is becoming increasingly clear to us that the space between nearly indistinguishable and truly indistinguishable is much wider than we ever suspected. And it may not be the only part of the map we must fear. I propose we bridge these gaps in knowledge by looking onto the speculative fiction of Robert J. Sullivan, who in his most well-known work, Equal Under One Sky, described the concept which thereafter has been called Sullivan's Peak. Through the lens of his characters and their so very divided world, Sullivan demonstrated that the Uncanny Valley does, in fact, have its own peak on the other side, a point past which making an artificial existence any more human in its features serves only to make the user experience more uncomfortable, more difficult, and more fraught with moral pitfalls. Once you reach Sullivan's Peak, traveling any further only has diminishing returns. The implications of this idea are far-reaching. We'll very soon reach a point at which the designers of ads can only make their creations less lifelike or less likable, a hard stopping point for technological progress. What then, what must we ask? Very interesting. Surprised to find reading material like that around here. Were they passing it around as a gag? Or are they actually afraid of Sullivan's Peak around here? Noble must be. Shit. Given the pink blood, I think they're wary of it. If the peak does exist, they'll be coming up on it fast now the androids are warned. Yay! I got it right. Noble's entire product line, maybe their entire industry, could go bottoms up if people start to think it's cruel. If Sarah's any indication of where their androids are headed, I could see some people getting uncomfortable.
All done? You ready to get the ad handled?
Thanks for humoring me.
Did you have it step into the scanner?
As he says. Understood.
Right then, what are we looking at here? Whoa. There's a lot to unpack here.
We theorize that it may have been Ash's pincushion.
Pincushion, huh? That would explain some of what I'm reading here.
What language is that on the screen?
Tess. You know, Tesseract? All noble products and, well, pretty much all products, period, are programmed in Tess. Easy to read and write, stay compliant. Now this model, what's it go by?
Sarah.
This Sarah model. It's got everything the 16th line has, that's for sure. Organic skin, hybrid muscles, advanced facial processing and emoting. But there's a lot crammed in here that's still in development. Like in the idea phases. Solar cell hair strands, decentralized redundant power, mental and physical overclocking with extended tolerances. Data storage is so large it can't... Wow. You have to measure it using...
One hell of a poker face.
Wait. Decryption and signal hijacking? That's...
Hacking?
essentially...
Does that mean it could hack its own tenants?
Ah, no, that's unthinkable. Literally, for an ad. For an ad to break its tenants would be like, you stepping into traffic or dropping a baby. Even if you're physically capable of it, it's not something you would ever choose to do.
Some people do walk into traffic. Psychotics, addicts, the mentally ill. Does that mean there are androids?
Well, no, there aren't crazy androids. So, yeah. I guess my analogy doesn't hold up.
That's okay. So it can't hack itself. But it was given the ability to hack other systems.
The industry line is that such a capability could be an option in certain emergency scenarios. Breaking through the firewalls and encryption of surrounding electronics to broadcast directly to police or military channels. Speaking of military, this musculoskeletal setup is drastic. I've never seen this on a consumer model.
Can you lift a car or something, Sarah? Most cars. It would depend on the center of gravity.
Lady, this Sarah could wrestle a public disturbance walker and come out on top.
Those stomping behemoths they bring out for riot suppression.
And in terms of computational ability, the estimate says... Huh. That can't be right.
Look, Dawes. I was actually hoping you could tell me something about how the software or the metadata. Who worked on it and when?
Right, okay. Oh, that's unfortunate. The editing logs have been purged.
That doesn't sound very above the board.
Sorry, I can't tell you anything about who worked on Sarah or when.
Any chance you can restore those logs?
Not here with this machine. I need the computers they're actually used for programming this model. Any idea where those would be?
Sarah? I cannot answer that question with any accuracy. Had a feeling you might say that. That's right.
Sorry. I can tell you that the code is unique. There's hints of A16 in there. A few of the same conclusions, it's just... Dr. Asher or whoever took very different paths to get there.
So Sarah has even less in common with every other android on the inside.
Sorry. Didn't expect to hit a dead end here.
Not at all. You've been very helpful. Can we still get the registration done?
Yeah, no problem. I got the software and forms all set up here. Can't usually let a new business partner bring one home fresh in the oven, you know?
Oven? Gross.
Alright, a few basic questions then. Who is going to be the official owner of this unit?
She is. As it says. Unless the will disagrees, it's my responsibility.
Right then. You fine with the designation, Sarah? You can set it to anything you like.
Well, actually... Never mind. Sarah will do fine.
Okay, this part's all standard. Civilian model, address, contact info I can get for your crumbs. Do you want to reset to factory default? Could clear up a lot of quirks.
Not right now.
Last thing then is the grading. I'm reading 23 tenants here. That's too far out of the ordinary.
23. That's higher than I expected, talking with it. She seemed more malleable than that.
Don't blame yourself. Guessing tenant count from outward appearances has become a crapshoot. Not like it used to be. Used to be they only had 3 tenants total, and every unit had to have them. Then came the first accident, and the first lawsuits, the hearings, and the legislature.
And the demand for more tenants. A tenant making sure ads couldn't endanger the state. A tenant stating ads wouldn't divulge private information without prior consent. There was a campaign calling for a tenant to weigh child and adult lives equally during risk assessment. Then there was a campaign calling for a tenant to do the opposite.
Companies wanted their asses covered. Customers wanted guarantees. There was never much incentive to deny requested tenants, so the list just ballooned. Until the military entered the market full force.
You sound like you don't approve.
I wouldn't go that far. They needed their ads to be able to pull the trigger when ordered to. Without clearing 5,000 lines of bloated, hard-coded decision points to get there. I get that. But since the armies are the only ones using tech with bare minimum tenants, all the best, least cluttered, most elegant code is only used for war games. Not very romantic. Oh, not like I was on the jury.
Department of Advanced Defense Projects versus Zenith Dynamics. The Supreme Court sided with the military's request and set a new precedent that every other army around the world would race to meet. Changing tenants from a mandated list at the root of every ad source code to a choose-your-own checklist. Damn.
It's funny. Ads with the most tenants, they're so locked up you can't even have a conversation with them. And outside the armed forces, the only ads with single-digit tenant counts are just vacuuming floors. Most impressive ones, like what you've got here, fall somewhere in the middle. Sorry, went on a tangent there. Only thing left is the evaluation.
What gets evaluated?
Total financial worth for insurance purposes. Yeah, the insurance companies made sure we have very accurate algorithms for this. No room for human error, they insisted, with no sense of irony. Wow. I mean, I knew it was custom, but,
What price could they have possibly... That's a lot of digits.
you should know, these formulae are pretty conservative with their estimates. Stingy, even.
If Sarah's really David's last and greatest work, they say some things are priceless, but when you force an insurance algorithm to pick a number...
Try not to get any scratches on it, I guess.
Evaluation of the android Sarah's financial value by insurance algorithm takes into the account the fact that Sarah is the only known android made by David Asher, the last known piece of tech he worked on, the fact that he is now deceased and cannot create any more, the fact that Sarah is one of a kind, the fact that the value of components used in her construction, and the potential profits reaped from the experimental technology contained within her. Totals to a very large sum. Tesseract 4.6, better known as TESS, latest version of Tesseract programming language, built on top of the Tenet system and utilized in industries around the globe to code the software that allows androids, robots, holograms, and more to react to their environment intelligently and with intention. At the start of the century, there was a much greater variety in the number of programming languages available with which to code. Globalization, the standardization of industry procedures, and the gradual erasure of many spoken tongues contributed to the loss of countless programming languages during the mid-21st century. Today, TESS is virtually unchallenged as the global lingua franca programming language. The study and teaching of other older programming languages is mostly done for recreation, hobby, or digital archaeology. Tenets. A programming framework underlying the development of modern automated dependent software. So it sounds like laws or robotics. All contemporary supported programming languages are built upon the Tenet system, allowing users to designate a series of inviolable priorities for their code to pursue. Once added to a program, a tenet cannot be circumvented under any traditional circumstances. And even then, only if a tenet with higher weight supersedes it. Tenets were first adopted in the field of computer science as a trio: 3 priorities that govern how preserving human life, obeying human commands, and avoiding damage to human property should be prioritized. Since then, the number of supported tenets has ballooned to 113, most of them requested by lobbyists in the insurance industry looking to better define relative financial value. Tenets are well known for increasing the decision time lag of programs. This, combined with their engineered inflexibility, has made it such that most programmers aim for a tenet limit below 30. Originally, the one tenet that could not be removed from any program was the safety zero, aka tenet 0, tenet 1. Said tenet dictated that the following program could not produce outcomes that would result in harm to a living person. After the decision reached in People versus Volstance defense contractors and the resulting widespread adoption of automated defendants in the military and security sectors, this is no longer required. Though Tenet 0 may still be added to particularly benign or mundane software as a good luck charm, superstitious ritual, or joke. Jeez. Purge. The act of emptying one's stomach contents by inducing vomiting. Damn. You spoke differently back there. Huh? With Dawes. You spoke like he did, it seemed. Like I copied his accent. You seem to mirror his effect, his tone. It's called being friendly. What's your point? It was just an observation. You can choose to keep those to yourself, you know. No tenant required. Why were you so concerned about registering me in the first place, Ajnai? For the same reason I wouldn't drive around a car without a license plate? Any cop or even just a well-placed camera could have spotted your barcode and seeing that it wasn't set up with any actual data. And then they would have arrested me, and then they would have thrown me in the slammer. No, they would have arrested me and put you in an evidence locker. An android can't get arrested. People get arrested. Property gets seized. And then smashed. Great, you put us over the weight limit. I did no such... Morgan, counselor. Your presence had been requested on the upper floors. Who's asking? Yep, thought so. Vice President of Android Futures, Helen Young. Shouldn't have assumed I still had the opening move. Tell her I'll be right up. I'll redirect your elevator now. Taking control of your elevator is very convenient, forceful. As if Noble is trying to directly steer your investigation. If Noble wanted to shut me down, they wouldn't bother to be subtle. I suppose they could simply refuse to cooperate. Or just let the elevator drop. Executive Office, Young. Right. Speaking first is a sign of weakness, is it? And here I thought I could avoid wading into the swamp of corporate pretend power dynamics. Ah, fuck berries. Silence is only awkward if you care. I can ignore social cues all day long. Ah, jeez Louise. Okay. I always like this time of day. Not too muggy for you? No. I never liked a clear blue sky. It always seemed cold to me. You're in luck. The sky gets more colorful every year as the air quality drops. Childish, isn't it? Marveling at the small sheen of rainbow dancing on the surface of a massive oil spill. Apologies for waxing poetic. It's been a very unusual 24 hours around here. Dr. Young. Just Miss is fine. Miss Young, I get the feeling you didn't bring me up here just to talk about the weather. No, I brought you up here to express my condolences. I'm very sorry for your loss. Thank you, though I could say the same. I know you and David worked together for many years. Yes, we did. But as much as I'd like to just drop everything and process, the company wheels don't stop spinning for anything. Or anyone. Was Josephine here? She sent him? Trying to be helpful or just trying to control the narrative? He was great. But that must mean you know why I'm here. I just don't want to make any assumptions. No need, I'll be explicit. I'm here as an officer of the court, which means I'm bound by law to document every rock I turn over. And every person I speak to. Yes, the lawyers all made that very clear. Lawyers? of an android. It's not one of ours. You can tell that quickly. Got all the faces memorized? It's easy enough to remember the major archetypes we use, yes. If you're nuts about your work, maybe. It's a recent acquisition. Very recent, in fact. One of David's last requests, apparently. David asked you to take it. I've been told that you've been to David's estate already. The police gave me full access to the scene. Then you know that he wasn't alone last night. Yes. There was a single witness who met with him and called emergency services when he fainted. I was that witness. Makes sense. Really? Obviously. There aren't that many people David would bother meeting with in person, let alone welcoming them into his home and offering them a drink. I also know that Young is his superior, on paper, though not in fame. And I know that the witness had Executive Plan 3 insurance, so they had to be higher up than David. Well then, do your lawyers know we're having this conversation? Of course. They're pulling the hair out about it as we speak. I can't imagine why. The police cleared you. And you were well within your rights to ask for some privacy given the high-profile nature of all that's happened. So why call me up here? Why cut through all the red tape your lawyers painstakingly hid you behind? Eventually you, or some clever lawyer like you, will get the record opened, through legal means or otherwise. The company's enemies are legion, and they have a prying knife for every occasion. Still, that would have taken time. Time we could use to get ahead of what could be the biggest PR hurdle Noble's ever seen. Touché. And so perhaps the truth of the matter is that I simply didn't want to hide. David was my colleague for several years. If I were in your shoes, I would have questions as well. You're doing this for my sake? No, my reasons are purely selfish. I'm living there talking to someone whose job isn't to defend me from all consequences might prove. Therapeutic. If she wants to play confessional, that's fine by me. But is that really all that's going on here? Why don't you start from the beginning, then? You went to his home last night. Yes, at around 7:30. The building's penumbra captured all that quite clearly. He fell ill around 8 p.m., so you spent half an hour together. Why the late call in person? We had an intense discussion yesterday afternoon. David never came in on Saturdays, and I didn't want to spend the weekend glaring at him through screens, so I visited, and he let me in and we talked. About the good old days, if you can believe that. Back when we were both new to the company, eager to make a name for ourselves. How long ago was that? 7 or 8 years ago. Miss Young? Putting a number on it. It doesn't sound that long ago, but it feels. We spent a while like that, just talking. He was lively and sharp. I never would have thought that just a few minutes later that he would be dead. That he would commit suicide in front of me. A firm reply. It was totally her then. What happened? A quarter before 8, he said he wanted toast. He got up, walked back into his workshop, and he must have went down to his basement to get us a bottle. I checked some messages in the meantime, enjoy the view. In other words, she stayed on camera. He came back with a bottle of whiskey and 2 plastic cups. We drank and talked. He got quieter, spoke less. I thought he was just getting drunk. I didn't get worried until he started to fall asleep. You tried to wake him. He wasn't responding. I tried to shake him awake, but he didn't seem. I left him and ran to the kitchen to use the security system. Didn't think to use your phone. No. I suppose I didn't. But it worked out. Penumbra's emergency protocol summoned a VTOL straight to his helipad with 1 button press. When I returned to the parlor, he was limp. I moved him to the floor as delicately as I could. He had a heartbeat, but I just did what I could until they arrived. You went with them to the hospital, I take it? Yes, they insisted. I checked my vitals and ran a tox screen, which came back clean. So did David, for all the good it did him. I wasn't paying close attention to what they were saying at that point, but I'm sure they ran through every step of the CCE SOP. That's what they're paid to do. You seem certain that it was suicide. Yes. Why? As I said, he just got quieter as time passed and he spoke less. But the last thing he said to me, the last clear thing he said was that he was happy ending it here. Said he was content. And he downed his glass after that. He drank every last drop. Does that sound like David Asher to you? Curious, restless, perfectionist, David? No, I guess it doesn't. You said CCE, Standard Operating Procedure, a moment ago. What is that? CCE stands for Counter Corporate Espionage, which is just industry doublespeak for corporate espionage. Only used in self-defense, you understand? So Noble anticipates employees at your level getting poisoned. They give us all kinds of CCE training. Subtly, of course. Usually disguised on the itinerary as leadership workshops or psychiatric evaluations. They train you to expect to get murdered as these leadership workshops. Murder is fairly rare at our level. More likely they want us too sick to work. Let us drain company resources in a hospital bed while our position sits vacant. That's smart. Like snipers purposely avoiding a vital area to strain the enemy's medical resources. That's terrible! Like snipers purposefully avoiding vital areas in order to strain the enemy's medical resources. Poor sweet Sarah. That's nothing compared to when they want to turn an asset. Feel ill for the rest of your life with an undiagnosable malady, or become a mole and will send you the antidote every 2 weeks. That's a nasty piece of work. It's a nasty line of work, consulting. I'm sorry? That's just what they call it. Can't exactly put corporate spy on your CV. So every consultant I've met at a cocktail party was actually It depends. Did they say that they're consultants? Did they say that they were in consulting? How the hell am I supposed to remember that? So do your people think that what happened to David was a deliberate attack? Noble's competitors have been trying to get David for years. And that's the timescale their plans operate on. If this was an attack from a rival corporation, the company would have seen it coming. And they'd probably have struck first. I've been curious about this ever since I saw the scene. Why the plastic cups? There's a story there. David and I got hired around the same time under similar circumstances. Had hunted while finishing our higher education. During recruiting, the company claimed to want us badly, but in practice their actual authority was inexperienced and overpaid. You must have been extremely unpopular. You don't mince words. We didn't either back then. We were loudly trying to convince the superiors that their entire sales model for androids was antiquated and self-defeating. The two of them made the one-point doctrine. That's not the story I've heard in Noble commercials and Noble-sponsored media. And come to think of it, it's an odd story I've heard from David himself. We had this deadline self-imposed, but still, a deadline. We want to get our pitch to the president of international sales by end of day. 7 p.m. rolls out around and people start filtering out. David still has his head buried in diagrams and sales figures. Imagine a technical man like him, a programmer, trying to make a sales pitch. Clock hits 9 and even the zombies start heading out. I turn to David, tell him it's not going to happen. We're nowhere near finished and the day's long since been over. He looked at me like I'm the only other person on a sinking boat. I just stopped pitching water and he says,
The president lives on the other side of the globe. We've still got all night until his end of day.
We wrapped up at 4 in the morning. Just us and the cleaning staff. Back then only half of them were ads. He finally sends the message and I'm ready to collapse. I got nothing. He stared blankly at his inbox for the next 40 minutes, hoping the harsh light would give us some energy to work through the next day. And we get a response. It wasn't long, but it showed he was interested. I'd been turned down so many times before then, ignored and placated, passed up and ghosted. But together, David and I have finally gotten a win. So David asks if I want anything to drink. I got a bottle of some swill in a cabinet at my desk, but he doesn't want to drink from the bottle, so he says he wants a toast. So we sat there at 5:19 in the morning, toasting awful vodka to one another in cups we grabbed from the break room. Toasting a first victory against the corporate beast. Between the lack of sleep and the drinking, the next day at work was hell. Sounds like a good memory. Plastic cups and liquor. That was our little ritual. So I didn't think twice when he presented me with my cup. It was ceremony for us. As VP of Android Futures, you're David's superior, aren't you? That's correct. Didn't you join the company at around the same time? David was always more interested in his work than he was in climbing the ladder. He didn't like playing the corporate politics game. So was he unpopular around here? Not unpopular, no. Not the great Dr. David Asher. Misunderstood, perhaps. How so? He could be blunt, demanding, some might say. He wasn't trying to be, it's just... not everyone could work at the same pace he did, for as long as he did. Even with the whole company upping those inhalers, they couldn't keep pace with David. Speaking of which, I don't see any at Young's desk. Maybe it's not just something you leave out in the open at her level. So you would say that his work-life balance was... Balance implies that two are at odds with one another. We use work-life harmony here at the company. Fascinating. So was he in harmony? No. David always had plenty of suitors, but he was never willing to put the time in. But I'm sure you're more knowledgeable than I am on that subject. Right. What do you mean? I had to help him draft a lot of apology notes over the years for misunderstandings and double bookings. Scandalous. Hello, Twat. Welcome to the stream. The A16 only entered production this year, correct? Correct. Pre-order started last holiday and we began shipping in the first quarter. I understand they were instrumental in the success of Warm Androids. I played my part supervising the launch, yes. Weren't you the one who designed serotonin? The factor that enabled communication between synthetic and organic parts? I'm surprised you've heard of that. I did lead that project, yes. But that was years ago. At the time, serotonin was little more than novelty. Dead end. It wasn't until David took the reins in the A16 that we found a use for it. Took the reins? He was lead programmer on limb coordination, facial expression, exhaustion parameters. And he designed synthetic nerves that made all that possible. David did all of that. It's a lot more than just programming. Was he always so gifted in that many fields? Did he fill those roles on the A14 or 15? No. He used to stick steadfast to his role as a software architect. That was his field of expertise, and he didn't wander far. 2 or 3 years back, he started sitting in on other departments, taking notes. Soon he was joining discussion, proposing new ideas, and eventually they came to follow his lead. Just like that. Just like that. So he just applied himself, and soon he was leading other departments. That's the kind of genius that Dr. David Asher was. Maybe they weren't paying him enough. The company profited the most, of course. The entire industry benefited from his vision and leadership. His loss will be felt for years. So this android, Sarah. Even Dawes couldn't find any real details on where it came from. It's not in any of our systems. I'm afraid not. Did David ever talk to you or anyone else about the company about a pet project? Pet? No. He never gave me any indication like that. And if he didn't talk to me about it, seriously doubt he confided in anyone else at the company. David didn't trust anyone higher in the chain than himself, and anyone below him. Frankly, they couldn't possibly hope to give him advice. He never mentioned me. No, never. Androids don't come cheap. You never heard about him requisitioning parts or resources. There were never any discrepancies with his company credit card? The company's accountants are mirthless, even by industry standards. They wouldn't humor anybody. Not even David Asher. If they had ever detected financial discrepancies, there would have been an uproar loud enough you could hear it in the mailroom. You have a mailroom? Not since the 30s. Just a figure of speech. Why is she so excited about that? He couldn't have taken resources from the company without leaving a record. But no one would deny Dr. David Asher information. He would have been able to obtain all the necessary data to build his own android. Then, with enough time and money, he could privately purchase the raw materials himself. I don't understand it. It must have taken him years to build Sarah. He wasn't doing anything illegal, except the hacking stuff. So why keep it secret? I don't know. He was private and a perfectionist, as he simply wasn't proud of his results. Oh no, Sarah, I'm sorry. Could be. Well, thanks for taking the time to talk to me. I'm sure this has been a difficult day for you. A difficult day for all of us. A message from Fran. I'm running out of leads to chase. The brat better have good news. Are you really going to take this to court? That's my plan. The circumstances may be irregular, but I'm still defending a client from a criminal charge. It's my responsibility to argue that he's not guilty of whatever he's being accused of. And is that what you believe? That he didn't commit suicide? I guess I haven't decided what I believe. In transit. Would you kindly slow the hell down? I'm sorry, Adonai. Was I walking too quickly for you? That wasn't walking. That was speed walking. Up 2 flights of stairs. It's very different. Speed walking. Sounds like a powerful technique. Is it the Zhenjiao? Just let me catch my breath for a minute. Adonai, is it possible that you are out of shape? No. But since we left the cab, your heart rate has... I'm not wearing the right clothes. Or the right shoes. Is that so? Yes. Also, I didn't stretch or hydrate, and the sun's reaching its zenith. That would have been several hours ago. Do you mean the air temperature? You said it would be a short walk from street level, so I prepared myself mentally for a short walk. Then you took off like a rocket, and you didn't mention we'd have to go upstairs. Are you sure this place is even back here? The reviews online were quite clear. It's worth the trouble finding it. Maybe if you're a mountain climber. When I said Fran hunting for a musician in David's circles, I expected them to bring me to someone from the city orchestra or jazz club. The champagne, flute, and teacup kind of musician. But this is the tequila and neon part of town. It should be in view if we turn... Adonai, be careful. Of what? It's a stray. And it's bearing its fangs, too. It could be carrying diseases. You should
Relax.
Adonai, it's growling.
It's not growling at me.
See? So it's just me that it doesn't like.
Too much static.
How'd you get it to calm down?
It's an animal, not a monster. It wants to be calm.
Do you like animals?
What kind of cold-blooded freak doesn't like animals?
Do you have a pet?
Nope, never have.
Why not?
Because I don't want to take care of a pet.
That seems counterintuitive to me.
Well, it makes perfect sense to me, and I don't need it to make sense to you.
But
you notice you're only this talkative when it's just the two of us.
Just an observation.
You shy or something? Did David program you to have android anxiety?
It's generally only appropriate to respond to comments that are addressed to oneself. Today I have rarely been addressed directly by people, other than you.
In other words, you're shy.
That is not what I... Can I try petting it?
There's no law against it.
Ultraviolets. Oh, it's a dance club. This is the establishment.
Now to see if Isaac Porter is as habitual as Fran claims.
Do you think Father was close with this man? This man who you've never met?
I think he was close with him, yes. At some point. I had some help making that deduction. Fran saw that the metadata showed significant cooling of interaction between the two of them, particularly over the past month. But Fran also saw a phone call between the two last night.
So they were close. Do you think they were sleeping together?
That is completely inappropriate for me or anyone to speculate about.
Inappropriate? Adonai, it's only...
I'm getting a very important text message from my private investigator, excuse me.
Did you catch the killer yet?
No.
What the hell? He sent you his paws!
I'm at his position. I haven't spoken to Porter yet. Anyway, there's no reason to suspect him right now.
Lame.
Surprised you're invested all of a sudden. Isn't David Asher a corporate sellout in your eyes?
Everyone's a corporate sellout. But Asher gets respect. If I'm a demolitions expert, he's like a really good architect.
That's almost sweet, I think.
Asher started out working in Cube. So in the architect technology, PGA standards, he's like, okay, as a kid he built all his bricks by hand. Or something.
You know that lit homework can help you with forming analogies.
Eat this analogy. That come through to the character's brick. This is to be a guy giving you the finger.
I take it Cube is a programming language. What's special about it?
Pretty much anything code in the last 20 years is web-based. Code with the assumption that you'll always be connected. So you can depend on having fat libraries of references to lean on. And if something does go wrong, your errors get reported to you automatically.
But not Cube.
You can look it up. Basically, Cube was originally for robotics and, like, machinery. Stuff that had to operate in mines. Under the ocean. Middle of nowhere fields with zero signal service. So Cuba had to be self-sufficient.
How rugged.
Weird Asher learned Cube anyway. It's older than dirt. From like the 40s.
I don't know.
I think his father was at a machine shop or something. Vague.
Yeah, well, David didn't like to talk about his family. And I never asked.
What did your private investigator have to say, Adnan?
Not telling.
The stage for the talent.
Pretty close to the floor. Guess it fits with the whole round table aspect of this place. Everyone's more or less on equal footing, dancing in the dark. Once you get past the bouncer.
Do you think they might have met here?
David and Porter? I can't see David walking in here.
Because you found the walk so challenging?
Because it's too loud to relax. And not dark enough to be anonymous.
I see.
What's that face? You got an opinion to share?
The atmosphere's not bad in here, but the music isn't quite.
I'll find you a survey to fill out before we leave. What kind of music does an android even like?
Early 21st century punk rock.
Is that just you, or does that go for all androids?
I haven't met all androids. I can't speak for them.
Wonder what they'd say.
If they're smart, they'll say that music peaked with early 21st century punk rock.
Debate settled. A bar stocked full of colorful selections and busy bartenders. Hope this isn't the kind of club you can order food in. Only time bar food is any good is when you're drunk enough to forget the taste in the gap between chewing and swallowing. So, you can, like, eat things?
Yes, I can.
What, like android food?
There is no such product.
So what do androids eat?
Online user guides for Noble's War models clarify that they don't eat anything in the traditional sense. They get their energy from electrical charging, usually wireless. Whenever they need to eat, it's to replenish specific vitamins and electrolytes.
This sounds a lot like what mod users go through, with their sports drinks and energy bars. And charge of separation anxiety.
According to the net, warm androids can ingest nutrient-rich processed carbohydrate pellets if they need to forgo electrical charging long term.
Processed pellets? You mean like kibble? Like dog food?
No, it's not like dog food at all.
Can you buy it from the pet store?
It seems that you can.
Oh my god. How is this something you have to look up anyway?
Because I've always just eaten whatever father gave me.
Like what?
Marbled beef. Never hydroponic avocados. Foie gras. That sort of thing.
I am not paying for any of that.
Never hydroponic is movements calling for sourcing food exclusively from farms using natural sunlight. Lobbyists for the movement have made unsubstantiated claims about superior taste or nutritional value, but the label has yet to receive official state recognition, as the presence of the term or terms like it on food packaging carries no weight and is not backed by any legal guarantee. One of a number of food sourcing movements that arose in the latter half of the 21st century as rising sea levels reduced the amount of arable land around the world and shifted the global agricultural industry toward hydroponics and vertical farms. Rural skyscrapers where each floor is utilized for food production, saving on real estate costs and reducing the impact of unstable weather on agricultural output. Cube was a Tier 5 programming language commonly used in mid-21st century robotics. Intended to support robust behavior trees in low data stream environments, its design philosophy emphasized lean, goal-oriented learning that would not be reliant on the bloated libraries and always online API popularized in the 2030s. Rosa Fluff, real name unknown, first began working on Cube in 2044 as part of a student robotics project. Cube 0.9 was released in 2045, and by 2048, Cube 3.1 already found itself embedded in robotics engineering across the globe. Despite having what is considered relatively high barrier to entry in user knowledge and execution, Cube gained widespread popularity, particularly among disaffected communities in third world countries, where internet access remained unreliable for the next 2 decades as regional conflicts would continue. Infamously, Contra fighter engineers utilized Cube during the 27-day siege to seize mechanized weapons from peacekeeping forces in a cyber warfare operation. It is frequently cited as a key reason to why the siege lasted as long as it did. Cube has not been developed or supported since 2063 and is considered a defunct programming language. Because most of its documentation was never ported from the old net and due to its incompatibility with tenets, there's little to no corporate interest in ongoing grassroots digital archaeology effort to archive it. Alright, the testimony we have. How was that updated? Glass of water, Helen Young's. Yeah, okay, so just. Counter corporate espionage, a playbook of aggressive defense tactics for everything from public life to personal security, intended to help high value members of a corporate body minimize risk to themselves and the company. Frequently involves the use of double talk and coded language, including hiding the training as leadership workshops or psychiatric evaluations. David Asher and Helen Young receive training multiple times a year. Fluent in 3 languages, dislikes working from home, shopping online, waiting. Likes red meat, flower guns, high thread counts. Enjoys baseball games. Hidden talent getting children to stop crying. What kind of reading material gets left out in a club? A tabloid interview? Exclusive sit down with luxury. You've heard her name on everyone's lips. You've seen her face in magazines and commercials. Then double check to make sure the photos weren't labeled as edited. Now getting all your burning questions about her answered here in our exclusive interview with the mysterious young woman who's being called, and perhaps the only truly unanimous vote that net's ever seen, the most beautiful woman in the world. Why the name? People think it's an ego thing, but it was just a random username I picked back when I was at Grassroots. Then it was a pseudonym to give me a little shade from all the attention. Now it's a brand, and I can't change it without sending a start mark into a spin, so... You're certainly influential. After partnering with you, Inti saw a 3,000% increase in share price. Yay, I'm happy for them! Of course, but to be honest, it's pain times like this. She gestures towards her clothes, plain white t-shirt and gym shorts with no branding visible. On anyone else, it might seem sloppy or even unflattering. On her, it only makes her natural beauty stand out that much more. What are you wearing, by the way? Can't wear anyone unless I'm attending something. If I don't dress like this, all my sponsors fall into bidding wars every time I leave the house. This sounds like a preview for a character in a future case. Does it stress you, all that attention? Stress is bad for your skin, right? They say mine's flawless. Can't argue with that. So you have a skincare routine or any tips you'd like to share? Be a little bratty and a little spoiled. Keeps you young. And how old are you exactly? Everyone's dying to know. 18 to 29, now and forever. Well, however old she is or isn't, Luxury's got one hell of a mind for business. It might do her more good than that face in the end. Maybe. It's one hell of a face. In the meantime, she's... this one I gotta really think about. Let's see. Since she can't really choose her own clothes, but, I'm gonna say, given that she can do all this crazy shit if she wanted to. Yay! I got it right. Some rises are too meteoric for even the Megs to grab the reins on. At this point, Luxury's got them at her mercy. She can send their stocks into disarray with one selfie. Good for her. Okay, yeah, that's him, alright. Looks like he's killing time before his sets tonight. Are you unsure how to proceed, Adonai? I'm sure that you need to hang back. As for me, I'll... play it straight. Isaac Porter?
What's up?
My name's Morgan. I was David's friend. Right now I'm his lawyer. Can we talk?
Depends. You your friend from work?
No.
Over here.
Thanks, Isaac.
Don't thank me yet. I might just sit here, shut my mouth and stick you with my dad. So what kind of lawyer are you? What kind of friend?
I'm his defense attorney.
Think you missed the bus on that then, yeah?
And I'm a friend that needs to know what happened yesterday.
Doesn't everyone? Try somewhere else, friendly lawyer. I haven't seen him in weeks.
You might not have seen him, but we both know that you spoke with him over the phone yesterday. Only a short time before he died.
How the hell?
Isaac, it's pretty obvious that you don't want this particular spotlight to linger on you any more than necessary. So why don't we just cut to the chase? No lies, no playing coy.
Fine.
Sarah? Yes, Adonai.
The hell? Is that thing transmitting?
I'm not streaming any data, no. Porter doesn't seem to recognize Sarah either. One more person David was keeping secrets from. I need to record everything for the court.
Fine.
You two were together, is that correct?
We were together. I ended it. Yesterday.
Oh, damn. Care to elaborate?
On our entire relationship.
Look, you can tell me everything once and I can get it on the record. Or you can hear the same questions over and over and over again from 1,000 different cops and Megs for the next 3 months.
We met in a bar. I'd seen him come in a few times, each time with someone else. Each time talking with his mouth but not looking with his eyes. Ticked me off. Scribbling on napkins and letting a single gin and tonic sweat on the table for 2 hours. His dates would all go to the bathroom or take a call and slip out the back. One of them didn't make it 10 minutes. And he'd still sit there the rest of the night unfazed. Couldn't tell if he was oblivious or stupid or shameless or the most confident man in the world. And he ticked me off. One night things were slow and my set had been cancelled and his date hadn't even bothered to think of an excuse before bailing, so I asked him why he insisted on coming there night after night. I was to ignore vapid people he wasn't interested in at the shitty bar with drinks he didn't like. And he just said, because I like your music. Man, did that tick me off. It was cute early on. Him being so passionate about work I could barely pretend to understand. And I liked that we gave each other space, you know? Felt like we were being mature or whatever.
Until?
There was no until. No one day where everything turned sour. At some point, I started to understand where his priorities were. And how I ranked in them. Like I said, he was passionate about his work. I just wrongly assumed that he would also be that passionate about me at some point. So I pulled away a little, wanted to see if he'd notice, if he'd miss me. Testing him like there's the biggest red flag in the world. He never budged. I could ignore him for days and he wouldn't be the least bit ashamed to see me. If I picked a fight, he'd never get angry or upset, he'd just apologize. He didn't want to fight with me. Guess he was never invested enough to bother. It was my mistake. I watched him sit there all those nights, not giving a shit when people walked away, and I still like... this stupid idea that somehow, for whatever reason, I would be different. That I would be special. But I wasn't, so I ended it.
Last night?
I called him, didn't expect he'd pick up. I had everything prepared to leave a message with an assistant or ad or whatever. But he answered, first ring. Without hesitation, shame, or awkwardness. And that ticked me off. So I told him exactly how valued he had made me feel the past few months. I told him exactly how insignificant I felt as the boyfriend of the illustrious Dr. David Asher. And what
did he say?
He apologized. And then he asked me if that was all I caught to tell him.
Woof.
I hung up after that. Spent the rest of the night wrapped in warm disdain for him and his coldness. He had made that easy for me. I went to sleep hurt but clean, ready for something new. And then this morning I wake up to see that my ex killed himself not 2 hours after he let me walk out of his life without so much as a don't! What the hell, man? What the hell, David? And now you're just the tip of an iceberg with lawyers and reporters and buzzards. Parasites who want to hear about the man who sent David Asher over the edge. I never want to be his last lifeline as a straw that broke his back. I just want to be his goddamn boyfriend. Turns out that was asking for too much.
It's yet to be determined whether David committed suicide.
You serious?
You don't have all the facts.
And you too. Any one of them point to anything else? Thought so. Thanks for your time. I'll let you get back to it.
Oh, wait, was that Morgan? Hold on. Thanks for your time. I'll let you get back to it.
That's it. No summons.
The court has no need for you to retell a sad story like that.
The court, huh?
Sorry to bother you at work. Sarah, let's go. Your discography is very impressive.
Yeah, thanks.
And your range is remarkable. So it pained me to see that all your works in the last quarter have been so melancholy. I think...
What the hell would you know about any of that? What's the matter? Can't find the words? You took stealing from somewhere first, butcher them before shitting them back out?
I was not trained on any data sets that...
Nah, pardon me. My mistake, really. Not your fault you're only standing here because rich prick nerds were allowed to rob the world blind for most of this century.
Sarah, we're leaving. What the hell was that about? He was under the false impression that I was programmed using a massive automated learning model. An early 21st century. Not that. Why'd you talk to him? I wanted to. I just felt that I should say something to him. A word of advice. People don't want comfort from strangers, especially when they're androids. They want it from the people they want it from. Coming from anywhere else, it's just corn syrup on a parched tongue. Doesn't matter how sweet it is, they'll just start gagging. You know a lot about people, don't you, Adonai? Compared to you? I'm a goddamn savant. Come on. There's not much time left. Is there still somewhere you want to investigate? Somewhere I need to return to, actually. Porter was right. As things stand, I don't have any evidence that could establish an alternative interpretation of the facts. But if there did exist hard evidence that could prove his death wasn't a suicide, there's only one place I could find it at this point. Damn, the writing is really good. Noble House Employment Building Platea. Really enjoying it so far. Penthouse basement. The basement. You sure you don't want another look at the crime scene? I'm all out of time. Gotta approach this from the other angle. The other angle? You know, inductive versus deductive? Flip the chessboard and all that. Ah! Oh, there we go! Haven't you ever read a mystery novel? I've seen mystery films. Well, let's see if you paid any attention then. What killed David Asher? Poison. 10 points. There's a point system. Now how did that poison get into his bloodstream? He must have ingested it orally. And how do we know that? The medical examiner found no injection marks or wounds. And if he had inhaled it? Inhaled it? Why? Leave the whys to someone who actually understands them. I won't be able to understand anything if I don't practice. Practice by answering my question. I suppose it's possible, but highly unlikely. We would have found a delivery system for it in the building, like an inhaler. Right. An airborne poison is either shoved in your face or sprayed over a wide area. Did I? Highly unlikely. We would have found a delivery system for it in the building, like an inhaler. There we go. And no one around David has shown any kind of symptoms. So all we're left is oral intake. Eliminating the impossible. What's next, Adonai? Young's corroborated statement was that David didn't exhibit any irregular symptoms or behavior until he started drinking that night. And the police didn't find anything unusual in any of the food or drink in his home. Except for his cup. The results were inconclusive. Young was drinking from the same bottle and the same type of cup, but didn't get sick. We have to conclude then that David's cup alone was poisoned. That all seems logical and consistent with the police's theory of suicide. So why are we down here? Minus 10 points. Back to 0? David left the parlor and came back with whiskey and 2 cups. Young told us as much, and apparently the cameras upstairs support his story. So we have to conclude then that he got them both from this bar. Better. 5 points. Did he also get the poison from the cabinet? Oh, did he also get the poison from the cabinet? The police have been in here since we left. According to their ARCS file, they didn't find anything that matches the poison down here. So the poison somehow went straight into his drinking cup then. I need to flip this around again. Could it be an old poison that was always in the cup? For some reason. What if it's something that eroded over time? That, like, kind of degraded? Like, that other guy was mentioning, Evan was mentioning the red pills and stuff that put you to sleep. That would be a kind of depressant, right? What if it was something that was left in the cup? If he just kept these old cups. I need to flip this around again. But if you turn something 360 degrees, you're just back to... If I were the prosecution, what would I want more than anything? Proof that David knowingly added the poison himself. He wouldn't do that. And you can make that claim because there's no video evidence to contradict you. How long was David off camera? From 7:36 p.m. to 7:40 p.m. when he left the parlor to get liquor from the spa. So if we had David on camera for those 4 minutes and he didn't poison himself in that time, he would have a perfect alibi for the crime, proving his innocence. But Dad and I, we don't have footage of that. There are no security cameras down here. I think there are. What do you mean? This whole building is coated head to toe in Penumbra security systems, courtesy of Noble. Every console, every corner, every android on every floor, it's all plugged into Penumbra. Except that. That panel is manufactured by Cotter Security Systems. Why would David put a console for a different security system in exactly one corner of his penthouse? I've never given it much thought. Well, it's been bothering me all day. But my curiosity alone can't scale a 64-digit wall. You mean signal hijacking, whatever you want to call it? Have you tried it before? It is illegal and unnecessary. Father would not have installed hidden cameras in his own home. At the end of the day, I can't make you do anything. Well, actually, I probably can now that you're registered to me. But aren't you the one who wanted to prove his innocence? Eliminate the impossible. I will need your express verbal command. Not like David can press charges against us at this point. Do it. Did you really need me to say that? For the purposes of record keeping, yes. I've gotten past the 64-digit code, and I have found cameras. Damn. There are a number of them embedded into the room's walls and ceilings. As you theorize, they're on a separate network from the rest of the building. Where are they feeding into, if not the penumbra system? Behind my hibernation unit. Oh, dang. A false wall in the back of the safe. A classic. I don't understand. Why would Father possibly have a hidden system of cameras inside his own home? Oh, hold on a second. Can you turn the volume down, please? Thank you. Beats me. He was brilliant and more than a little odd. Throw a little money and odd becomes eccentric. I see. I think? I don't. The hell was he thinking? What was he afraid of? Why didn't he come to me for... Time's short. Gather facts now and leave the computation for later. The liquor cabinet this mystery hinges on. Police have been through it all by now. They didn't find foreign contents in any of the spirits. No poison to be found here. Well, not that kind of poison anyway. In which case, can I make you anything? Well, if you're offering, I'll have... Sorry, you're way underage, aren't you? 2 years old or whatever? Technically. Took that one a lot worse than I expected. Cheer up. Maybe you'll find a mocktail if you climb to the top of the ladder. This is a rolling ladder. A kind of... Oh my god! We gotta do this. A kind of step ladder, not a ladder. What? Remember, a ladder extends, but a step ladder folds out. And? It's important to know the distinction. I'd bet my life savings that this subject will never come up again, ever. They had to do it. They had to do it. It's required by law. So was that the original? It was appraised and confirmed to be genuine. At least he didn't get ripped off. Hold on. Okay. Ooh, he was good about it. Okay, let's see. I'm a Philistine when it comes to this kind of stuff. What does an android see? I see a meeting. Or perhaps an encounter. Two apex forces of nature. Two kings of the forest. The stag and the tiger. I think. Great, I'm officially less cultured than the robot. What did David even do with all this equipment? Dry his laundry? What makes you so sure he wasn't exercising? Did you ever see him use any of this crap? No, but he must have used the weights when I wasn't looking. He promised me that he'd take better care of his health. Sarah, these weights are all maxed out. They must be, like, it feels like they were used to test her strength. David couldn't have put up numbers like these even if he was piloting a frame. Don't be so sure, Adonai. Pardon? The following is a true story, based on primary sources who were present for the event and its aftermath. Copenhagen, 1981. 8:10 p.m. local time. A towering man with musculature of a world-class professional rugby player enters the Global Dunker Bank on Fredericksburg Lane. He explains to the bank tellers he has a bomb in his suitcase, and he wants his gym bag full of unknown bills. A security guard approaches from behind with a nightstick and swings. But the man simply catches the weapon and bends it into a twisted knot with his massive, dinner plate-sized hands. When asked to describe the suspect to the police afterwards, Teller had only this to say: that man was all muscle. The rest of the bank heist proceeds without incident, and the man exits the building just as police arrive on the scene when suddenly his suitcase explodes. But it's just a smokescreen. Local officers quickly recognize the ploy and rush towards the door, grabbing each of the hostages as they flee while desperately searching for the perpetrator. What they find instead is a diminutive, frail, sheepish young man, barely 160 centimeters tall, holding a gym bag full of money, with no recollection of how he got there. Renowned psychologist and trained hypnotist Dr. Werner Kurtzer wrote the following in his diagnosis: acute dissociative identity disorder. That's right. The man had a split personality. And so great was the disparity between his two halves that when they switched control, he physically changed, becoming taller, bulkier, and capable of previously unthinkable feats of strength. That's insane. There's no way that's true. So be careful of what you say. A man like Father can't do, just because of how he looks on the outside. There's no way that's true. Sarah, every single word you just said was false. Was that a movie? Huh? Don't believe everything you read on the net. Oh, here we go. I keep forgetting this. What's the story with this anyway? Some kind of fault in the foundation? I don't know. I've never noticed that crack before. I'd want to get those eyes checked. There's nothing wrong with my vision. So it happened in between the 2 days when she was asleep. This crack must have just been created during my most recent hibernation. How? Did David drop a weight? A bunch of times over and over in the same spot? Alright, let's refocus here. So there's some kind of hidden door behind your bunk bed, huh? Essentially. Though a bunk bed would imply a second or third. How do we open it? One moment. What are we gonna find? Some kind of fucking, like, Iron Man suit or some shit? Or like a different robot? Like, it feels like she, with her strength, would also be capable of such things. Like, it feels like the weights would be testing the robots, too. I see. Got it open already? I cannot open this door. Why? It is a Tethys basic sterdictor. Sterdicure. The anti-hack feature in the name is real? It's a closed system, Adonai. Hell am I supposed to do now? Strange. There was an if-then toggle enabled in security parameters. I don't follow. When Father last adjusted the settings here, he made it so the door would never open so long as I was hibernating. And he made it so that I was the only one who could wake her up. Meaning this is a door that only I can open. It'll be a 6-character password. Some combination of numbers or letters. Did you and Father have any influential moments in your life revolved around a 6-letter word? Nothing comes to mind. Is there a code word that he knew only I could learn? Oh, I think I know it. Yay, I guessed correctly. It's opening. What was the password, Adonai? You'd never guess. All right, let's see what is the big lead off we're gonna get between the let's see. Looks like a freaking bunker. We're gonna get before the courtroom scene. Did feel a bit out of character, David utilizing so much cloak and dagger tech. And I've definitely been struggling with the idea of him doing home improvement. A one step in here and it all makes sense. Yeah, it's a panic room. Scary. A panic room is a place for rich people to hide in whenever people start bouncing bricks off their windows. They're typically not even on the blueprints. So when Noble built this penthouse for one of their executives, someone slipped this into the mix, and it's remained in Noble's blind spot ever since. All David had to do was repurpose it. Make sure you're capturing all of this. I don't want to miss my one chance because of a discovery technicality. I understand, but you needn't specify. My memory is flawless. I can play back visuals, sounds, sensations. I can even give detailed reports on air particulates. You mean you can smell? Better than any human, and some canines. So does it smell stale in here to you? Stale. It doesn't to me. Almost like someone's been in here recently. Almost like someone visits here frequently. Alright, let's try booting up the computer. You don't think this console is password protected? 2 physical doors, a 64-digit code apt on Android, and a secret phrase. If David set a password on his PC after all that, I'm going back to the morgue to have a word with him. Good, it's already signed in. You were looking for camera footage? I'd also settled for a note plainly stating that he feared for his life. What am I doing? Here, you search for video files. They'll probably be time-stamped and formatted for short-range devices. I have the subfolder. The cameras stream live data constantly, but the files are clipped at fairly regular intervals. Once every week, it seems. The most recent video file is here has footage going back 8 days. It was accessed yesterday at around 4 p.m. You were asleep then. So the only person who could get in here at that time is David himself. Alright, let's see it then. Of course. It's just that I'm having difficulty. Try double-clicking. I have been trying to open the files from the moment I discovered them, Adonai. But they are encrypted. Damn it, David, you'll leave me enough clues to get this far, but you won't let me use your computer? What's the brand on the encryption program? If I rush a subpoena, they might have a back door I could bluff them into. These files were not encrypted with any commercially available tool. This appears to be Father's own work. Shit. If David Asher handwrote the encryption on these files, then there's no one alive who could... Oh, hold on a second. Alright, back. Hey, was Dawes just flattering you back there? Or is your processing power really that special? Adonai, Can you break his encryption, yes or no? With enough time. And how much time would that be? I would estimate it at 2 to 6 hours. That's a 4-hour window. No matter how sophisticated, encryption is still just a code that must be deciphered. When deciphering any code, progress proceeds exponentially, which makes it particularly difficult to determine the amount of time required to complete the process. 2 to 6 hours. I don't have any better options. Get started. I started 4 minutes and 23 seconds ago. Finally showing some initiative. But you've been talking to me this whole time. I have the ability to analyze data in parallel by using subconscious processes, so long as the work required is rote. So you're doing it in the back of your head? Actually, I'm speaking to you in the back of my head. I could give the decryption process my full undivided attention, but I would become non-responsive. Hey, that's a pretty nifty feature. I'll have to keep that in mind. Alright, can you take this show on the road? Or do we have to rip this computer out of the wall and find a battery? I've copied the encrypted files and we'll work on them as we travel. We can leave whenever you're ready. Yeah, that's unusual. That you would encrypt this. Looks like he used it to paint. Still can't believe that David let me get this far to just shut the door in my face at the last second. But he did let me get this far. And the computer's not the only thing in here. Cabinets are a lot less eye-catching than his computer, but knowing David, that's all the more reason to check. Lots of paperwork, bonds and holdings, a platinum bar? His birth certificate might be nearly as valuable. Can't imagine what people would pay to steal David Asher's identity. And down here at the bottom, a binder. Noble's logo on the front and in the middle. Enough pages to dwarf one of those phone books you see in period pieces. They're masking it in legalese even on the table of contents, but basically, this is his employment contract. Hold on to this for me.
It must be very important if you're giving it to me.
Details on for compensation, grounds for dismissal, definitions for constitutes a breach of contract. Now arbitrations will be handled, not a light read. Order occupation, musician, basics, like itineraries, grilling, champagne, dislikes resistance training, producers, ads. The best at gift giving, the worst at folding laundry. It's certainly very heavy.
Was there anything else in there?
Expecting an updated copy of his will to show up?
It is a possibility, isn't it?
Maybe in a corny old murder mystery.
A widely beloved and respected genre with over 2 centuries of...
There is something else. Your papers.
That Evangeline Morgan be given immediate and complete ownership of the android designated Sarah.
It's dated a few weeks back. Had he already made up his mind about all of this? If he had, why'd he hide this here when no one else could find it? Was I just a backup plan? Well, at least we got something a bit more concrete than Starling's word now.
Her word should be plenty, shouldn't it?
Not if people realize how precious you are. As a collector's item. Oh my god. Sarah about to go into murders. Oh my god, that's amazing. We've yet to meet one person who knows what the hell you are. But Noble could have easily argued that you fall under private technology or physical holdings. Unless I had something like this.
It's good that you do, then. I'm glad that Father wanted me to go with a friend of his.
Yes. This'll give me a huge tax write-off when I donate you to a for-profit college.
You could at least pick a charitable institution.
It's just an old saying. All colleges have been for-profit since the 60s.
That doesn't make me feel any better.
You can cheer up in the car. And as a ride to the courthouse, priority.
There's an upcharge at this hour for priority transportation.
That's irritating. But I'd like to have more than just a few minutes to prepare once we get there.
The upcharge is a multiplier of 5.7.
I'll prepare on the way over. Damn, jeez Louise.
Very good, Adonai. Does it excite you, going into courtrooms?
What do you mean?
You don't feel the tension in the air as the audience murmurs amongst themselves. You don't feel a fiery sense of justice rising in your gut as the prosecution smirks at your ragtag assembly of witnesses.
Do you really think this is going to be like some kind of movie where the good guy saves the day?
Probably not. Though that would be nice if it were.
What's your deal, anyway? Did David train you off on a movie marathon from hell or something?
We did watch films together, if that's what you're asking. Though he was rarely the one who suggested it.
So you were the aggressor. What's an android get out of watching a flick, anyway?
What do I get?
Why do you do it? What's your reason?
I'm not sure how to answer your question.
Never mind. Forgot what I was talking to.
I like the performances.
Sure, there you go. Got a crush on Humphrey Bogart or something?
He's a handsome man. But it's not the actors I like so much as their performance. The truth is, besides father, I have very little experience when it comes to people.
I hadn't noticed.
I read the net, and I watch people and what they share of their lives. But it's also subtle, so hard to follow. There are so many unspoken rules that can't be taught, only learned, and I often struggle to grasp them. You're all so complex, so detailed. The characters on screen are exaggerated, larger than life. The actors enunciate. Their body language is precise and meaningful. Their faces are bright and softly lit, and their eyes are... It's fiction. So these characters and their stories, they have a beginning, a middle, and an end. People on screen don't ask anything of you, except your attention. You can't disappoint them or make them feel awkward. You can just watch and learn. But what about you, Adonai?
What about me?
Do you like movies?
Yeah, sure. Back when I was a kid.
Really? Who was your favorite director? What was your favorite film?
It was a long time ago. I don't remember. State building, floor 48. All right, you guys. I think this is a good place to stop. Next time we go to trial. Woo! In 2 days, we'll continue. Yeah, it's Sunday. Oh, yeah. Okay. In 2 days, we will continue. I am hyped through the roof. Oh my god, the writing is on fire. I love this game so far. Really, really excited. I'm guessing they're going the Spirit of Justice way with one big investigation and one big courtroom scene. Based on just how this has been going. That we went to the crime scene multiple times and stuff like that. Oh man. Woo! You played this before, twat. Right? I think you did. Alright, so, yep. Until then, I will say, so long, farewell, auf Wiedersehen, good night. You are all the sweetest of hearts. See ya.